Welcome in, everyone. If you're with me, it's late, pushing 11 o'clock, about a quarter till Tuesday night. Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm going to go ahead and call this the worst loss of the season. When you look at the quad rankings, it certainly is. Vanderbilt came in at 230th. It's a quad four loss. The Hogs' first quad four loss in a really bad season. But 85-82 home loss to the Vanderbilt Commodores. A lot of, I guess. A lot of things were established tonight. One is something we had already been established. This is not a good Arkansas team, but Vanderbilt had failed to score 80 points in a game all season long. 85-82. Commodores are able to get over the hump there. First true road win of the season for Vanderbilt. A team that came in at 7-20, so now 8-20, 3-12 in SEC play. After the win tonight. Kind of at a loss. Arkansas had an early 10-point lead, 20-10, and then Vanderbilt took over as the Hogs really struggled to score, struggled to score inside the paint. It was another game. In the win over Missouri, Arkansas wins by 15, but takes 25 shots from three. Somehow the Razorbacks found a way to put 30 attempts up, made only 10. But this is a game that Vanderbilt controlled in the paint. Vanderbilt controlled in the turnover department. Vanderbilt plus one on the glass. This is a really, really bad Vanderbilt team. A team that came in shooting 39% on field goals for the season, shooting below 30% from three on the season, shooting only 70% at the free throw line, averaging only 66 points a game. And this is the third consecutive loss for Arkansas against Vanderbilt's program, a program that's struggled in the SEC of late. You go back the last three seasons, Vanderbilt's 3-0 in this series. It's the first time ever that the Commodores have won three straight against Arkansas's program, and two of those three wins have now been at Bud Walton Arena. So, again, some milestones established tonight. Arkansas, by virtue of its loss, has assured itself of a losing record in league play for a second consecutive season. The Razorbacks now back to break even overall at 14-14, 5-10 in the SEC. Only three more games to go. The best Arkansas can do now is 8-10, and that's by winning out. Arkansas's team last year finished 8-10. I doubt this team has managed to do that. At 5-10, I think Arkansas is either looking at 5-13, potentially 6-12. Anything better than that would shock me at this point. So second consecutive losing record in SEC play under Eric Musselman, who's now in year 5. His first Arkansas team went 7-11 in league play. So 3 of his 5 seasons, Arkansas's finished below 500, and because they will finish below 500 this year in league play. So 3 of the 5 seasons in SEC play. So that's another milestone, if you want to call it that. Arkansas now 0-13 in games that trailed by double digits. I mentioned Arkansas was up 10 early. Vanderbilt led by 4 at halftime. Commodores quickly grew that advantage to 10 points, so it was a double-digit deficit for the Hogs early in the second half. Arkansas got, I think, within 4 a couple of times, or maybe even 2, before Vanderbilt built it up to a 16-point lead on 2 occasions in the final 6 with about 6 minutes to go. Then Arkansas stormed back, got within a point with 5 seconds on a Caliph Battle 3-point shot that hit the rim, bounced high, looked like it hit the support above the backboard, but fell in, and Arkansas trailed by 1, 83-82 with 5 seconds left. Arkansas fouled on the inbound play to stop the clock. And then Vanderbilt's guard that really led Arkansas up tonight, 22 points, Minjan, made both free throws. Vanderbilt elected not to foul after Arkansas called timeout. Tremont Mark was able to get into a decent-looking 3-shot on the left side of the 3-point line. It hit the rim and missed as time expired. So this is a season that can't end soon enough. I mentioned it, 14-14 overall, 5-10 in league play. The Razorbacks, I think, have only won once this year when they trailed at halftime. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken there, but that might be true as well. So this is just, after you saw the team win back-to-back games for the first time in SEC play, knocking off Mizzou. Prior to that big road win, a quad 1 road win against Texas A&M. We've seen Arkansas get blown out in SEC play by good teams. So many blowouts that were historic. And then to get a quad 1 win and back that up with a home win over the worst team when you look at record-wise in league play, Mizzou. In the previous game, you had back-to-back wins. The team had won 4 of its last 7 games after starting league play 1-6. And you're thinking, okay, maybe surely they'll beat Vanderbilt. Arkansas was a 10.5-point favorite the last I heard coming into the game. And now, you had, like I said, you had a quad one win on the road just a week ago. And 7 days later, you suffer your worst quad defeat of the season, quad 4, against just an awful Vanderbilt team. When you look at overall record, when you look at net rankings, Vanderbilt's worse than Mizzou if you want to grade it that way. So a quad 4 loss, the first one. Arkansas's got the quad 3 loss to Greensboro back in November. Ironically, this is a Vanderbilt team that beat Greensboro, I think, by a couple of possessions in the game prior to Greensboro coming to Fayetteville and knocking off Arkansas. All that was back in November. So one of the 2 of the few wins that Vanderbilt has, 8, have come against Greensboro and then Arkansas. And Arkansas is 0-2 against those opponents now for their 2 worst quad, like I said, defeats of the season. So, we're going to get to some of the stats here before we really kind of start talking about what's next. I mean, this is pretty easy math going forward on what Arkansas can accomplish or what may not happen or is likely not to happen. Arkansas finished 23 of 57 for 40.4% from the field. Arkansas shot 50% in the second half to get to 40%. 10 of 30 from 3. It's a lot of 3-point attempts. Vanderbilt did a great job. 33.3% from 3. 26 of 31 at the foul line. You like to see that, 83.9%. A lot of that's Caleb Battle and Tremont Mark too tonight. But Vanderbilt, 29 of 57 from the field, 50.9%. This is a team, again, that was shooting 39% from the field on the season. 4 of 16 from 3. That's about right. It's a team that shoots in the 20s, 25%. But 23 of 32 at the foul line. 71.9%. Vanderbilt's a 70% free throw shooting team. So not much better, but the volume. 1 more free throw attempt than Arkansas, only 3 fewer makes. And so when everything else was working for Vanderbilt inside the arc, and though Arkansas had an advantage, a 10-4 advantage and made threes, Vanderbilt just staying close at the free throw line was a big deal in a game that won by 3 points. But remember, the Commodores did have double-digit leads often in the second half, including 16 points with 6 minutes to go. This is not a good enough Arkansas team to really sustain, to come back that much down with that little bit of time. And Arkansas made mistakes down the stretch. One that I could think of is Trevor Brazile, by the way, who finally recorded some stats. It was back 9 games ago, I think, since he had recorded stats in a game at Ole Miss. Didn't play in the second half of that game with his knee issue, and then missed the last 7, or the next 7. Then in the last game, he played 4 minutes in the first half against Mizzou, but didn't record a stat other than it picking up a foul. Tonight, I think with about 8+ minutes to go, he had 1 of 2 free throws Brazile did, so that was his first point, spanning back to that Ole Miss game. But he finished with 7 points. He hit a 3 in Arkansas's run there somewhere in the second half to cut the advantage to a 2-possession game, 78-72 late. But Brazile finishes with 7 points, 6 rebounds and a block shot in 17 minutes. But he had a bad foul with under a minute to go at the end of the shot clock that allowed Vandy to step to the line and convert something. So that hurt a little bit. I mentioned Caleb Battle. Another big game for him offensively. 36 points. 9 of 17 from the field. 4 of 10 from 3. 14 of 17 at the foul line. So this Battle's 28 of 31 from the free throw line in the last 2 games. We know he scored 42 points and went over Mizzou. 36 tonight. So he's, that's a 39-point average in his last 2 games. It's the first time that an Arkansas player has had back-to-back games of 30 or more points since Mason Jones back in the 2019-20 season, which was Eric Melsman's first year at Arkansas. Jones actually had a span of 3 consecutive games of 30 or more points. We'll see if Battle can continue that at Kentucky, which is the next game on Saturday on the road at Rupp Arena. A Kentucky team that, by the way, won at Bud Walton Arena earlier this year by 6 points, 63-57. LLS with 19 points, efficient game, 7 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 2 of 2 at the line. I mentioned Battle's 36. He also had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, but 6 turnovers in 39 minutes. Ellis is 19 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 2 turnovers, 36 minutes. Tremont Mark, 15 points. Now, he wasn't efficient shooting. 3 of 11 from the field, including 1 of 5 from 3, but he made all 8 of his free throw attempts. Mark had 6 rebounds, a couple of assists, and a couple of turnovers in 38 minutes. I think what obviously hurt Arkansas tonight as well as Makai Mitchell had played. Arkansas was dominated inside the paint, and Mitchell playing off the bench, no points, 0 of 3 from the field in 19 minutes, 5 rebounds and an assist. Devo Davis, was one of those games for him. He was also 0 of 3 from the field, didn't scratch, had 1 or 2 rebounds maybe, didn't play a whole lot. Arkansas, I think Jeremiah Davenport was 1 of 5, all of his shots from 3. He made his first one. It's kind of typical of him. He'll hit one and keep shooting. And he's not very effective. He's not been a good 3-point shooter this year when you look at his percentages and his volume on top of that. But this is just, again, if there was any slim hope for Arkansas to play its way onto the bubble and have a chance at an at-large bid, the Hogs needed to win out. They certainly couldn't lose this game. They needed to win the next 3 to pick up a couple of more quad 1 wins, protect home turf against against LSU, sandwiched in between the Kentucky and Alabama road games. The title will be the final road game of the season. So Arkansas, in theory, would have been 4-8 in quad 1 wins had they done that. And then 18-13 and 9-9 in league play going to the SEC tournament, and likely would have played itself into the Thursday games, not the first round games for the bottom 4 teams in the league, but the Thursday round. And then you only have to win 4 out of 4, which is a lot, but it's not 5 out of 5 games to win the automatic bid and win the championship. But even if Arkansas had won 3 games and gotten to the title game, had it won out in the regular season, including tonight, the team would be like 7-8, 7-9 in quad 1 games, most likely, with a winning record against SEC teams when you combine regular season SEC games and the tournament. It would have been a good a road record for Arkansas, and away games, neutral site games would have been respectable. I mentioned the quad 1s, and Arkansas would still only have the 1 bad quad 3 loss. So they'd be on the bubble at 21-14 with a good quad 1 record and some other things going for it, and a chance. All of that's off the table. Arkansas is now likely going to finish in the bottom 4 teams in the league, which means the Hogs will have to win 5 games in 5 days to win the SEC tournament. There's no other way to get into the NCAA tournament other than win the league tournament, and it looks like Arkansas is going to finish, like I said, in that bottom 4, where they also have the Wednesday game. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday will be what's on the menu for the Razorbacks. It's not going to happen. This is a bad Arkansas team. It's a historically bad season. I mentioned Eric Melsman's first Razorback team that had, was players he inherited. A significant injury to Isaiah Joe that missed a big chunk of games when Arkansas, got behind on its record in league play. 7-11 last year, 8-10. This one's sizing up to be worse. Again, 3 more to go, only 1 home game there, and the 2 road games are both really good opponents, ranked opponents that are, at the top of the leaderboard. Arkansas is 0-6, by the way. 5-10 in league play. All 5 wins have been against teams with losing records in the SEC. 0-6 against teams in the top half of the league, and those 6 losses have been by a margin of nearly 18 points per loss, 17.7. So, things could get ugly again. I mean, we've seen so many blowout losses. This one this was headed to a blowout for Vandy. Arkansas fought back, but the loss in of itself, even though it's a 3-point margin, is the worst loss of the season because it's a quad 4 loss. I mean, again, Vanderbilt, it's a team that hadn't scored 80 points all year. We're this late into it, and they go on the road for their first true road win. Not only get 80, get to 85, and just made Arkansas look like the superior team. Arkansas's not good, but you thought Arkansas was better than Vanderbilt coming into this. At least I did. All right, not seeing any comments. I think people are what else is there to say? I thought I'd run through some stuff. Let's go through the team stats a little bit. Turnovers, Vanderbilt won that battle 13-10. Points off turnovers, Vanderbilt won that battle +6, 17-11. Rebounds, Vanderbilt +1, 35-34. Offensive rebounds, Arkansas +2, 11-9. But guess what? Where that got the Razorbacks? 0 advantage in second chance points. In fact, Vandy was +12 in second chance points, 15-3. So Vanderbilt -2 in offensive rebounds, but converted at a much higher rate on its second chance opportunities. Again, 15-3 in those points. Points in the paint, dominating performance by Vanderbilt. Did not see this coming. 44-26. Fast break scoring, Vanderbilt +7, 22-15. Vanderbilt 3-1 in blocks. Usually Arkansas, a very good shot blocking team, wins those battles. Not tonight. Assists, 12-7. That actually was advantage Arkansas. Vanderbilt, a lot of one-on-one basketball and just beating guys off the dribble. But 12 assists on 23 made field goals, over 50% for Arkansas there. It's not really a silver lining when you lose to a team like Vanderbilt, but there's that. Steals 6-4, +2 for Vanderbilt, and bench scoring +9 for Vanderbilt, 19-10. Again, Mekhi Mitchell had such a great stretch of games to really just be so ineffective in his minutes. Vanderbilt, again, 3 consecutive wins against the Razorbacks. Jerry Stackhouse, that program's not trending in the right direction in any of those seasons yet. They've got Arkansas's number. Eric Malsman, now again, 3 of his 5 seasons at Arkansas, the team will have a losing record when the dust settles on regular season league play. So, Arkansas, if you're going to say is trending anything, despite some recent success, all that's just back down the tubes with this loss. So many times when Arkansas was getting blown out in games, any little bit of success and a close win, you're like, well, we know Arkansas is not very good. Even though this did not end up a blowout on the scoreboard, again, the quality of opponent. When you look at Vandy's resume, I mean, this team's 8-20, and now it's 3rd league win. I mean, just not a whole lot for Arkansas to point to in this game and say it was positive. I mean, even Caleb Battle's numbers and L. Ellis's numbers and some things those guys did, it's just empty. Those are empty stats, and when you lose a game like this. All right, Arkansas loses at home to Vanderbilt, 85-82. We're about 17 minutes in. I've just, kind of been going through some of the stats, some of the trends, some of the, I guess, historical stuff. Remember, John Pelfrey's two of his second and third seasons were really bad. His second season, Arkansas went 2-14 in league play, and finished with obviously an overall losing record. That was in 08-09, 15 years ago. The following season, his team went 7-9 in SEC play, but also had an overall losing record. I think the Hogs were 14-18 maybe overall. So that was 14 years ago in 2009-10. So Arkansas, which I haven't said yet, I've talked about the league mark and where it's destined to have it be a losing record again. But the overall record at 14-14, I mean, Arkansas's been underwater once already this year before winning its previous 2 games, now back to 500 after this loss. Arkansas's got to win 2 of these last 3 games to finish the regular season to not have a losing record going into SEC play, SEC tournament play. Arkansas staring down the barrel of a losing record for the first time since that Pelfrey team 14 years ago. So that's another, I guess, historic landmark that's not a good one. And when you look at an Arkansas program that in the previous 3 seasons, as we know, back-to-back Elite Eights followed by a Sweet 16. So even though Arkansas was 8-10 in league play last year, did make it to a Sweet 16. But having said that, Arkansas, since the beginning of league play last year to where they are now, has not been good. At best, they're hovering around 500 overall. That includes non-conference results, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, league play last year, league play this year. You add all that up in the last 50 or so games, and Arkansas's hovering around 500. There's a Sweet 16 in that, but when you look at 50 games, I mean, with Sweet 16, it's a 2-1 run, and it tells you that what Arkansas did in November and December before league play last year also mattered last year. It helped Arkansas qualify for the NCAA tournament, so let's not forget that part of last year. But at the start of league play a year ago to where we are now, this is basically a 500 team at best overall, and way underwater in league games. And so it's not a good look. I've been on and talked to, for weeks now that Eric Musselman has been, basically job hunting, going way back to around the start of the season. Some stuff starting around even before that. So we'll see what plays out, what pans out there. I'm always curious as to how things change or continue to develop and matriculate once the coaching carousel really starts to take form and shape, because and other coaches are moving up some of the big boards on the coaching big boards, so you just never know how it plays out. But if I had to call it today, I would still say Eric Musselman will not be the coach at Arkansas next year based on his own choosing. And if he does come back, I believe it's that he made a determination, either opportunities were no longer available to him that he would consider or wanted. And so it'd be a situation where if he does come back, it will be framed as though he was always coming back and all this other stuff was just nonsense, but it's not. But that would be the narrative. So, just keep an eye on that. Obviously, you start wondering, well, which of these Razorbacks that have remaining eligibility will be back? So obviously, who your coach is going to matter there. And even if it's Eric Musselman, he's a guy that he revamps and redoes the roster just about every year in significant measure. So you really still couldn't, regardless if it's him or someone else, figure out who's likely to be back. I don't know that there's any one player you could point to and say, well, that guy's probably coming back. Not one. That's where we are. Not only is it more and more of the nature of the college landscape, but it's certainly been that way under Musselman at Arkansas. 5 returnees this year seemed like a heavy amount. It seemed like a good fortune, and it's been anything but. Everything's the transfer portal recruiting did not live up to billing. The pieces did not fit. There's talent on this team. That's obvious. I mean, Caleb Battle, SEC Player of the Week. I mentioned the 42-point games, the high point mark this year in SEC play. And I didn't go through Vanderbilt's individual players. Manjon with 22 points, Lawrence with 21. Both of those guys were outstanding, as was Lubin, 19 points and 12 rebounds, a double-double. Kind of put up a Makai Mitchell stat line there. And then Lewis, who struggled this year shooting, he did end up 2 of 7 from 3, but he had 11 points. So Vanderbilt, had its best game. That was the Super Bowl for Vanderbilt to this point. Just to get to 80, get its first road win, and some of these, this is a really bad Vandy team, and it tells you how bad Arkansas is. Now, I don't see a whole lot of a point of talking about what's to come for the remainder of this season. I kind of laid it out. There's no game you look at, Kentucky or Alabama, especially on the road, where you feel like Arkansas is going to find a way to win. Guess it's possible. Arkansas was competitive at Mississippi State and then knocked off A&M in its last 2 road games. So back to the road, but I just don't think that's going to happen. In between those games is LSU. It's an LSU team that's been at the bottom half of the league in the standings, but it's a team that's really dangerous, had some good wins, especially got better during league play, blew Arkansas out in Baton Rouge, and I wouldn't be surprised if Arkansas doesn't have a second straight season of losing its final 3 league games. And then this year, that would also include 4 consecutive league games to finish out league play, because Arkansas lost tonight to Vanderbilt. The Hogs finished 0-3 in their league play last year for that final 8-10 mark. So Arkansas was 8-7 going into those final 3 and then lost all 3. And so I think I think we could see something similar where Arkansas drops the last 3. Plus, this would mean they're going to the SEC tournament with 4 straight losses. I'm not predicting that, but I'd say 0-3 seems as likely to me as going 1-2. Either way, either one of those scenarios, and Arkansas's got a losing record overall, not just in league play, that's assured, but overall going in the SEC tournament. And so, we'll be talking about it, one of those seasons that's historic. Again, you got to go back 14 and 15 years ago with Pelfrey's back-to-back losers to find an Arkansas team anywhere close to this inept. Even Mike Anderson did a good job at Arkansas. Mike Anderson did a good job at Arkansas when you looked at his 8 seasons, bringing the program out of a dumpster fire and being respectable. And Eric Musselman's taking it to another level. Eric Musselman's been excellent at Arkansas up until, again, at minimum this season. But really, in my opinion, even though Arkansas managed to get to a Sweet 16, when you went back to the start of league play last year through where we are now, I'm just going to say it. You've got arguably 5 NBA players on these two teams. Yeah, there's been some injuries and guys missing sometime, but last year, Anthony Black, Ricky Council, Jordan Walsh, even with Nick Smith Jr. playing 17 games, missing 19, he still helped Arkansas. But you had 4 NBA players right there. You had Trevor Brazile for 8 games. He's a projected NBA player. We'll see what happens there. So this team, at best has got Brazile as an NBA kind of talent. I don't think this team has other guys that project to me as NBA guys. Maybe some will figure it out and get there, a la like a Stanley Amudi, Patrick Beverly. Arkansas's had other guys kind of work their way into opportunities. But a variation of 5 pros in the last 2 years, and you're middling around a 500 record in these last 50 games. I'm not going to discount that Sweet 16 run. I'm not picking and choosing. I keep bringing that up because I understand that it's not just that package of games. That Arkansas had a good non-conference prior to last year's league. But we know your league play is the toughest part of what you're doing. We know that that's the best measure of who you are. So aside from getting on a little run in the NCAA tournament, which still matters, it's a big, Arkansas has been kind of a clunker, kind of clunking along. Again, I've just went through it. So that's where the program is. I think Arkansas will be, I keep talking about NIL and how that's, Arkansas, from what I'm gathering and from multiple sources, it's not where it needs to be. I can tell you that there's a feeling based on, experience from folks that what's being talked about, promised, or suggested is not what's being delivered on. I can tell you that there's an impression that Arkansas is near the bottom of the league. Maybe this Vanderbilt team's the only one that's worse. The team you lost to tonight. So Arkansas's got some stuff that it needs to correct because we know that portal recruiting and even high school recruiting moving forward, so much of what that's going to come down to is NIL. Yeah, getting good exposure at facilities, history, coaching, all that matters still. But NIL may matter more than anything. It may matter more than anything as we continue to move along. It may be the biggest factor. Arkansas's got to get that figured out. That's also going to play into getting the next coach if you have a coaching change at the end of the season, which I still lean toward Arkansas will. I could change my mind about that. I could change my tune based on things I learned. But nothing I've learned over weeks suggests that won't be the case. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll make adjustments as necessary. All right, again, it's HogvilleNet YouTube Live post-game analysis. I'm going to wrap it up at 30 minutes. That's 2 minutes away. I want to thank my sponsor, Jose's Bar and Grill in Town. Also my sponsor, Fence Brokers, Inc. here in Central Arkansas. This has not been the season that any of us envisioned. Preseason top 15 ranking. Looked good for the most part in exhibition season, including that big win over Purdue, which has been basically a top 5 ranked team all year, been number 1 a few times. Arkansas does have the quad win over Duke in November. You can look at a splash, a handful of games that mattered and say Arkansas showed that it had talent, so you wonder what happened. It's not been a good defensive team. It's not been a good offensive team. It's been a team that is not good with attention to details. Even in this winning streak and stretches of games, I saw guys loafing, when running back in transition or standing flat-footed in situations where just a little bit of movement and proactive attention to detail would have mattered just to win a play. These are the kind of things that snowball on you. It's everywhere. When it seems like when Arkansas gets better in one area, other things are a problem. Tonight, a very bad Vanderbilt team kicked Arkansas's ass in just about every category. Hustle plays everywhere. The only place no would be the 3-point line. And Arkansas took 30. This Arkansas team's not going to win many games shooting 30. Made 10. 33.3%, but Vanderbilt was so much better everywhere else. And though Arkansas made 3 more free throws, again, Arkansas needed a bigger cushion at the foul line to win this game. And you would have thought, looking at what both teams do there, that would have been a huge advantage for Arkansas. The Hogs kept fouling, especially when they got down 16. A lot of reaches, a lot of risks, a lot of gambles, a lot of being out of position, trying to win everything, get all the way back in one play. And that's where you make more mistakes and you bail the other team out because Arkansas got them in the bonus early. All right, 30 minutes. I said I'm signing off. We're rolling it right now. We just hit 30. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNet YouTube live post-game analysis. The Arkansas Razorbacks, the worst loss of the season, 85-82 to Quad 4 Vanderbilt. The Commodores now 8-20 overall. 3-12 in league play. Arkansas 14-14 in league overall. 5-10 in league play. Guaranteed a second consecutive losing season in league play. Third out of the last 5 years. And maybe in the serious trouble of having a losing overall record for the first time in 14 years. All right, thank you for joining me. The next time we'll see you potentially will be Saturday, Arkansas at Rupp Arena to face the 16th ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Big winner tonight over Mississippi State. So we'll either have a post and pregame, or excuse me, both a pre and post game, or maybe just a post game. But until then, I'll see you then.